Moving into my brand new home was supposed to be an exciting new beginning. I had put in the work, saved up every hard-earned penny, and finally, secured this absolutely stunning house in what seemed to be a peaceful, well-kept neighborhood. Everything looked perfect, at least that's what I thought. But I quickly learned that quiet didn't mean peaceful, not by a long shot. Because directly across the street from me lived her. You know exactly the type.
Karen.
The self-proclaimed ruler of the HOA. The almighty gatekeeper of community standards. I had barely even started unpacking when trouble knocked, or rather, stuck, to my door. There it was, a crisp white envelope taped right in the middle, practically screaming at me in bold letters, HOA violation notice.
What?
Already. I hadn't even had time to breathe in my new home smell before this nonsense started. Frowning, I ripped it open, eyes scanning the words as my confusion deepened. Dear resident, it has come to our attention that your property is in violation of several community guidelines. Please remove all non-conforming furniture from your front porch and ensure all visible belongings meet the community's aesthetic standards. Failure to comply will result in further action. Sincerely, the HOA board. I blinked. What on earth were they talking about? I stepped back, scanning my front porch. There was exactly one chair.
One.
A sleek, modern outdoor chair that blended perfectly with my house. No flashy lawn decorations, no beat-up cars ruining the view. Literally nothing that should be an issue. Then I saw her. Across the street, Karen stood like a statue. Arms crossed, gaze locked onto me like a hawk eyeing its prey. I raised a hand, trying to keep things civil. Morning, neighbor. She didn't wave back. Nope. Instead, she marched right over, heels clicking against the pavement with authority. She stopped at my driveway, her eyes narrowing like I'd personally insulted her entire bloodline. You need to remove that chair. Her voice was sharp, clipped. I blinked again.
What?
Excuse me? I asked, genuinely baffled. She jabbed a finger toward the innocent chair. It doesn't match community standards. I stared at her, then at the chair, then back at her. Karen, it's literally just a chair. Her nose scrunched up in disapproval. It's not approved, and neither is your house. I tilted my head. Come again? A smirk spread across her face. We weren't notified of a new homeowner. Did the previous owner get this sale approved by the board? And that's when it hit me. Karen thought I was a renter. She assumed I had no actual stake in the neighborhood, just some nobody who moved in without her approval. So I decided to play along. I don't think the owner needed to check in with you, I said carefully. That smirk of hers widened like she'd just won the HOA lottery. Oh, but they do. We have strict policies about who can live here. If the homeowner didn't get this approved, then I'm afraid we'll have to start the eviction process. I let out a small chuckle. Eviction? Seriously? Yes, she said smugly, folding her arms tighter. We don't allow renters disturbing our community harmony. And that's when I decided to end the game. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out my keys and twirled them around my finger. That's great to hear, Karen, because I'm not a renter. I leaned in just slightly. I own this house. Her smug expression shattered. Her entire body stiffened, her mouth parting slightly as if her brain short-circuited. Why, you bought this house? She stammered. I grinned.
Yep.
Paid in full. Signed, sealed, delivered. Karen looked like someone had just slapped her with a wet fish. Then, as if she hadn't just tried to throw me out of my own home, her face transformed. Suddenly, she was all sugar and sunshine, flashing a smile so fake it belonged in a used car dealership. Well, she chirped, voice dripping with false sweetness. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm the president of the HOA, so if you ever need anything, you just come straight to me. I nodded. Good to know. And with that, I turned around and shut my door in her face. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next few days turned into an onslaught. More and more HOA violation notices started appearing on my door, like clockwork. First, my porch light was apparently non-compliant. Then my trash bins were too visible from the street. And the final straw? My own car parked in my own driveway was now a problem. Karen was on a warpath. Since she couldn't evict me, she had resorted to making my life miserable. But what she didn't know, I had a secret. Because I didn't just own this house. I owned a third of the entire neighborhood. And Karen? Oh, Karen was about to learn exactly who she was messing with. The battle wasn't over. But one thing was clear. This war, she wasn't going to win. For the next few days, everything was eerily quiet. Too quiet. No more passive-aggressive violation notices slapped onto my door. No more ridiculous complaints from the HOA. And, most importantly, no sign of Karen. It didn't sit right with me. Karen wouldn't just back down. She had been relentless in her mission to make my life miserable, and suddenly nothing? Mark, my next-door neighbor, noticed it too. One morning, coffee in hand, he smirked and said, "Dude, you might want to check if she's building a secret bunker to plot your downfall." We both laughed. But deep down, I knew he wasn't far off. Karen's silence wasn't surrender. It was a recalibration. She was scheming. And sure enough, when her next move came, it was big. A letter arrived in my mailbox. But this time, it wasn't just another petty violation. I pulled out the envelope, opened it up, and stared in disbelief. An eviction notice. From the HOA. Signed by the board. I actually laughed out loud. She was really trying this. The letter claimed I had persistently disrupted the community and failed to comply with homeowner standards. Therefore, I was being ordered to vacate my own home. Mark happened to be walking over just as I held up the paper. His eyes widened. No way. She actually did it. Oh, she did it, I said, shaking my head. She went nuclear. Mark snatched the letter from my hand, skimming it quickly. Then he scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. Dude, she doesn't even have the power to evict you. The HOA doesn't own your property. They can fine you, harass you, but they can't just kick you out. I grinned. She's about to find that out the hard way. Time to end this. The first thing I did, call my lawyer. As expected, he confirmed what I already knew. This was beyond illegal. The HOA had no authority to evict homeowners. Only a court of law could do that. And to make things even funnier, Karen hadn't even gone through the proper legal channels. No formal complaints. No legal filings. No court orders. She had simply convinced a few board members to sign off on her fake eviction notice, as if that made it real. I could have reacted immediately. I could have stormed over and thrown the letter in her face. But instead, I waited. I wanted Karen to think she had won. And sure enough, the next morning, she was glowing. She stood outside, chatting with neighbors, smiling, waving, practically basking in her victory. I could almost hear her thoughts. I did it. I got rid of him. I saved the community from an outsider. Oh, she had no idea what was coming. It was time to put an end to this game. The emergency HOA meeting. I called for an emergency HOA meeting. But this time, I wasn't attending as a resident under attack. I was walking in as a property owner. Karen was already seated when I arrived, her smugness cranked up to maximum levels. She leaned back in her chair, arms folded, barely containing her glee. "I'm surprised you even showed up," she said, voice dripping with fake concern. "We assumed you'd be packing by now." I walked up to the table, calmly placed a thick stack of legal documents in front of me, and leaned forward slightly. "Actually, Karen, I came to discuss something important." I paused for effect. The future of this community. Karen scoffed. "There's nothing to discuss," she said, waving me off. "The board already made their decision. You have 30 days to vacate." I let out a chuckle, shaking my head. Yet about that. I slid the first document across the table. "See, Karen, here's the problem. You don't have the authority to evict me." Her smile twitched. "In fact, the eviction notice you sent me?" I tapped the document. "It's completely fraudulent." Her eyes narrowed. "You didn't file it properly, it wasn't reviewed legally, and you bypassed the actual process altogether." I slid another paper forward. "This is from my lawyer. Consider it a formal cease and desist." If you don't retract your fake eviction notice immediately, you're looking at a lawsuit. The room was dead silent. Karen's smile wavered. This is nonsense. I leaned back in my chair. Oh, and one more thing. I pulled out another document and placed it on the table. I wasn't planning on mentioning this, but since you tried to remove me from my own home, I thought I'd clarify something for you. I smiled. You do know that I own multiple properties here, right? Karen's face froze. You what? She whispered. I nodded. That's right. I own 10 houses in this neighborhood. Karen's entire body stiffened. And according to HOA bylaws, because I own more than 10% of the properties in this community. I leaned in closer, lowering my voice just enough to drive the final nail in the coffin. That means I have more voting power than you. Silence. Pure, deafening silence. Karen's face turned deep red. That's ridiculous. You, Greg, the HOA vice president, cleared his throat and turned to her. Karen, is this true? I casually slid one final document across the table. And actually, I said with a smirk, I'd like to make a motion. Effective immediately, I propose a vote of no confidence in the current HOA president. Karen's eyes went wide. You can't, she shrieked. Greg sighed, rubbing his temples. Actually, he can. The final blow. The vote was held right then and there. Karen was officially removed as HOA president. Her final act of desperation? She argued, yelled, even threatened legal action.
But the board?
They were done with her. The entire neighborhood was done with her. And within a week, a new HOA president was elected. A much more reasonable, sane, and significantly less Karen-like individual. And Karen? The very next day, a for sale sign appeared in her yard. Mark sent me a picture of it with a single text. Victory. Moral of the story? Some people love abusing positions of power. They think they can bully others, push them around, and get away with it. But here's the thing. Knowledge is power. When you know your rights, understand the rules, and stand your ground, you can fight back. And sometimes, a little bit of unexpected ownership can flip the script entirely. Have you ever dealt with a Karen? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more insane stories like this one.